Hey guys, what's up? Andrew here, obviously, and I'm back for my third video on my vinyl collection. Uh, there's been a delay for these videos because I started my summer classes recently, and I didn't expect that, and I didn't expect them to start so soon. So there's been a slight delay, but hopefully I'll be able to upload at least once a week. That's my plan. Hopefully it follows through. Who knows? 5 records this time. I counted a lot because in the last two videos I messed it up both times. I got the number wrong, but I triple counted this time. 5 albums. I failed math a lot, so just give me a break. 5 albums, rock album, punk album, and 3, can't even count my fingers, 3 death metal albums. Also, if you're subscribed to the channel, you might have noticed that I uploaded a song. That's my first ever song slash demo that I ever did that wasn't related to school. It was just, something I did out of my own creativity, so that's that. Without further ado, let's just get started. Alright, first album up is a rock album from 1972. Another one of my favorite artists of all time, but I actually don't have a lot of his albums on vinyl. And the one album that I have of his is not a pressing that I particularly enjoy. It's a recent pressing, and I don't care for how it sounds. I love the album, but I just don't care for the pressing. I think it's a bad press. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. 1972 glam rock. This is pretty much his peak glam rock album. He started that kind of sound with, Man Who Sold the World and definitely Hunky Dory, but this is where it really truly comes out in full force. When it comes to Bowie, a lot of people tend to lean more towards his Berlin trilogy or Station to Station, or just a red center label, black vinyl. A lot of people tend to lean more towards the Berlin trilogy or Station to Station, like I just said, but in my opinion, this is his absolute best, and this is honestly one of my favorite albums ever. Top 10 easily. Sometimes it's like number 5, number 6. It's one of the few albums I would consider to be perfect. 5 Years starts off the album, and when I first heard this album, I was just getting into David Bowie, and it was just right after he died, because of course I have to wait till the artist dies to actually get into them, because I'm a fucking dumbass. 5 Years starts the album, and when I first listened to this album around the spring of 2016, I didn't care for that song much, so I actually never finished the album because I couldn't get through 5 Years. And then later 2016, I purchased the album on CD. My CD collection's over there. It's shit, so I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to show my records. I listened to it on CD and I loved it. And even though Station to Station, the opening track on there, the title track, is my favorite David Bowie song of all time, this, I feel, is his best opener. It's an incredible ballad. It's slow, very drum and guitar based, and the lyrics are very memorable. The lyrics on this album are super memorable. All the way through. Here's just the back. Iconic stuff. Shout out Kanye. Soul Love is the next one, which has an amazing chorus. Moon Age Daydream is next, and that has some of David Bowie's most famous lyrics in it. I'm an alligator, I'm Mama Papa coming for you. Just iconic stuff. One of the first songs from this album that I really got into. Same with Starman. One of the songs that kind of, once Bowie died and I heard it, I was like, I should probably get into this guy. It Ain't Easy ends the first side, and a lot of people give It Ain't Easy shit. They think it's one of the worst songs on the album. I guess technically you consider it one of the lesser songs on the album, but I personally love it. And then going on to side 2, Lady Stardust and Star. Again, 2 of the more weaker songs on the album, but they're still pretty gorgeous. There's a thunderstorm going on outside, so if that interferes with the video and makes it even more shit, I apologize. But Lady Stardust and Star are both really fun songs. Star is like a piano ballad, kind of rockabilly song, which is really, really cool. And then the last 4 songs are just incredible. Hang On to Yourself is almost like a proto-punk kind of song, like the Stooges or MC5 or something like that. I'm not real huge on that sound, but this song is incredible. It just riffs so hard for this album. Ziggy Stardust, which I guess could technically be considered the title track. Amazing, amazing stuff. One of the best songs off the album. Suffragette City is, in my opinion, one of the greatest and most well-made rock songs ever. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And then Rock and Roll Suicide is one of the most haunting endings to an album I can think of. On the back it says to be played at maximum volume, and trust me, I've played this album so many times at maximum volume. It's insane. I've listened to this album an ungodly amount of times. I absolutely worship it. I need to get a better pressing of this. I'm looking for a 70s press because this is, I think it's either a 2014 or a 2017 press, and 2015 actually. 2015, and this is really embarrassing, but I actually picked this up at an Urban Outfitters, which is just fucking reprehensible. Whatever that word is. But if you haven't heard the album and you want to get into Bowie, this is definitely the best starter album. Again, a lot of people seem to prefer the Berlin Trilogy, Low, Station to Station, Heroes, that kind of stuff, which I love that stuff too. But this is just so perfect, I can't say anything else. Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Listen to this shit, it's fucking amazing. Next up, I'm not going to talk about this album too much because I don't really listen to this band anymore. They're punk, and while I still enjoy punk, this is one of the bands that I don't really listen to anymore, but it's a classic hardcore punk album. Dead Kennedys, their debut, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. Dead Kennedys are an LA hardcore punk band from the early 70s. Really unique sounding stuff. The vocals, the bass, it's all like very idiosyncratic, especially for a genre that I feel is very repetitive and very stagnant. This is a very unique sounding band. Here's the back. This is one of the first hardcore punk bands that I really, really got into, but like I said, I don't really listen to them that much anymore. Not because they're bad by any means, but I've just moved on to other stuff. If I'm going to listen to hardcore punk, I'm going to listen to stuff like Misfits or Minor Threat, which are my favorite punk band. Center label looks really, really cool. Jello, making some weird hand gesture. In terms of the songs, I mean, most of the songs on here are pretty good. Kill the Poor might be my favorite Dead Kennedy song. It's a really catchy stuff. Forward to Death, When You Get Drafted. Let's lynch the landlord if I can talk. I can't. Fuck me. Another really cool song, Drug Me, Your Emotions. Chemical Warfare is really, Jello's vocals are really, really chaotic on that song. Especially when he starts like screaming and yelling and trying to like imitate people who are being burned to death. It's crazy. Second side has their 2 biggest songs, California Uber and Holiday in Cambodia, which are both, you know, fun for what they are. I Kill Children, Stealing People's Mails, Fun Man at the Beach, Bill in the Head, and then ending with a cover of Viva Las Vegas. Like I said, this is a fun album if you're into punk. I know when I was into this band, this was something I spun a lot, but not a bad album, but I just don't really listen to it much anymore. But if you're into punk, you know this album. I don't have to tell you that to listen to it. You've heard it. Dead Kennedys are one of the most popular punk bands of all time. Come on. Fuck it. I'll put it in later. So yeah, If you want to get into punk, start with the Ramones. They're one of my favorites. If you want to get into hardcore punk, a few better bands to start with. Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. Alright, the next 3 albums are from the same band, death metal band, and while I don't listen to them a lot anymore, I can honestly say that I've listened to these guys so much, especially this later stuff. If you know anything about me, you know I was going to talk about this band eventually, and that's why I'm not having a 6th album, because I could talk about these albums for a while, so I'm going to. I'm of course talking about death, individual thought patterns. Now, a theme in this video is that I'm not showing off albums that I have pressings of that I don't enjoy, except for the Bowie album and these death albums. I intend on getting those big, huge deluxe box sets that Relapse put out. So these aren't the pressings that I'm going to keep, but I wanted to show them off anyways because it's death and I've listened to so much of this band I could talk about them forever. So first death album I have is Individual Thought Patterns, 1993. This is probably, I change my favorite death album all the time, but I think I'm going to put my foot down and say that this is my favorite. And I think a big part of that has to do with the rhythm section. Steve and Gene Hoglan are absolutely insane. I love that the bass was really quiet on Human, so they make it as loud as the guitar on this album, and it's absolutely incredible. Steve's fretless bass playing is immaculate. And Andy LaRocque on guitar, I talked about him with At the Gates. I'm going to talk about him here, and I'm going to talk about him, you know, a couple videos from now, but unbelievable guitarist. His guitar solos in some of these songs are just insane. And of course, Chuck is Chuck. I don't need to say anything more. So yeah, this is a recent Relapse press. Basic backside. I love how the name is embossed. It looks really cool. Standard black vinyl, standard center label. My favorite part of this pressing is actually the lyric sheet. There's the lyrics, and then on the back, I've got these really cool photos. Folds out. Awesome, awesome stuff. You got different tour posters, them touring with bands like Gorefest, Sadist, I believe Carcass. No, Carcass down here, Gorefest, again, Cannibal Corpse. Just really awesome stuff. So yeah. When I was like, I'd say from like May of 2017 to like probably sometime in fall of 2019, this band was like my favorite band of all time, and I listened to them pretty much every day. Overactive Imagination starts off the album, and while it's a great song, I feel like the remaster of it removes that like echo voice in the bridge. If you've heard the song, you know what I'm talking about. There's 2 different versions, and the one with the echo is so much better, but still great. Inhuman Form, Jealousy, Trapped in a Corner. Trapped in a Corner probably has 2 of my favorite death solos on there. Andy LaRocque and Chuck just absolutely destroy that song. Nothing is Everything has one of my favorite death riffs. Death riffs. Jesus Christ. Death riffs. Jesus fucking Christ. Death riffs. Bro, what the fuck? Death riffs. In the pre-chorus, that kind of riff. That's amazing. Mentally Blind, the title track, Destiny, Out of Touch, and then of course The Philosopher. The Philosopher was one of the first death songs I ever really got into. So, yeah, this album's amazing. It's like Human, except with more bass. Better bass playing, might I add. So I love everything about this album. It's probably my favorite death album. I took out pretty much everything, so I'm just, fuck it, I'll just put it to the side because it's too much stuff to put back in. So if you're looking to get into death metal, start with death. if you've into death metal, you've probably already heard that album. I can guarantee you've heard that album. So great album. Let's move on to the next death album, which is obviously Symbolic. Symbolic, when this was my favorite death album, I considered this to be the most perfect metal album ever made. It's not my favorite death album anymore, but it's still one of my favorites. Just set that off over there. Obviously, this is not a Relapse repress because Relapse doesn't own the rights to repress this. This is Metal Blade. So unfortunately, there's no Symbolic deluxe box set, but it's okay because the pressing that I got is on white vinyl and it looks absolutely gorgeous. White vinyl is incredible. Lyric sheet once again. Even though it's not the deluxe box set, the packaging is still superb. And when I first got this album is how I first got into death metal. I had heard songs like Infernal Death and Zombie Ritual off of Scream Bloody Gore, and I hated it. That was back in 2016. Absolutely hated it. Thought I could never get into death metal. And then April 21st, 2017, I remember the date because it was one day after 420. I put on Crystal Mountain, and immediately afterwards I put on Misanthrope, and pretty much my entire musical landscape and my view on extreme metal was changed forever. So even though this isn't my favorite death album anymore, I still hold this very close to my heart. The title track, Zero Tolerance, Empty Words, is absolutely amazing. Those screams at the end of that song are just chilling. Sacred Serenity, 1000 Eyes, Without Judgment, of course Crystal Mountain and Misanthrope, and then Perennial Quest. The fuck is that noise? Seriously? There's like a cow like dying over there. What the fuck? Perennial Quest, that and Empty Words compete for my favorite song on the album. Absolutely incredible stuff. So yeah, a lot of people who aren't into death metal will probably enjoy this album and probably say it's the best death metal album of all time. I personally wouldn't agree because, hell, this isn't even my favorite death album. How could I say it's the best death metal album ever? But there was a time where I would have said you're absolutely 100% correct. But I don't want to take anything away from this album. It's still amazing. It's still one of the best in their discography, in my opinion. So yeah. This is where a lot of people get lost on death. It's either Human or this. They don't like this or the next album or anything like that, which I understand. A lot of people, when they listen to death metal, they just want riffs and fun, gory lyrics and stuff. They don't want technicality and introspective lyrics, and I get it, but I like that stuff, so I like this album. So of course, great album. And then obviously the last death album I have is the last death album, Sound of Perseverance. Once again, recent reissue. The redone artwork, here, let me take it out of the sleeve so you can actually see it. The redone artwork is incredible. I love it a lot more than the original artwork. Not that it was bad, but it just didn't look right. 2 vinyl. Center labels are kind of the same, just there's people climbing up the mountain. Get the fuck back in there. Oh, you son of a bitch. Fuck you. I'll be right back. Good. Okay. Gatefold. Got this picture of the band at the time. Great lineup. Liner notes. And obviously the back. Full artwork. Cool stuff. This album is fucking insane. The drumming is insane. The vocals are insane. The song structures are insane. Crazy stuff. Here's the back, if you can even see that. I interpret this album to be kind of like a breakup album of sorts. I know it's probably not, but that's how I interpret it to be. See the lyric sheet? Yeah, there's a lyric sheet. I'm stupid. What the fuck? Come on. It's stuck. Oh, okay. Just, yep. This video ain't tracking wreck already enough. Pictures of the band from around this time. Vocal stuff. And of course, lyrics. More liner notes. So yeah, I interpret this album, honestly, as a breakup album, and I know that's 100% not the case. However, hear me out on this. Oh, you fucking piece of shit. Thank you. With songs like Scavenger of Human Sorrow and Spirit Crusher, you can, like, I interpret that as like, it's like the end of like a long relationship and you're like very bitter towards your partner. Bite the Pain and Story to Tell are a lot more reflective and almost like you're lamenting the end of it. Flesh and the Power It Holds is more, once again, like kind of you're starting to turn against love and relationships. Voice of the Soul is just a good song. To Forgive Is to Suffer, I think is pretty self-explanatory. Moment of Clarity, again, is pretty self-explanatory, and I don't know how the fuck Painkiller, the Painkiller cover fits into that narrative, but I'm sure it does somewhere. Most of these songs, actually, excuse me, all of these songs are amazing. I remember a time where I would like, this was my favorite Death album. Hell, if you go on my Instagram account, you can probably see me talking about it. But like there was a time right when I was graduating high school, Scavenger of Human Sorrow and Beyond the Realms of Death by Judas Priest were like the only two songs I would just listen to those and play like Battlefield 1 just all day. Good times. But yeah, I love this album. I love every Death album. Once again, you know, they're not my favorite band anymore, and I can really only listen to them so much anymore because I've just listened to them so many times. But when I'm in the mood, this stuff rules. But you should already know that. And that'll do it for this video. It was just an absolute train wreck, but I needed to get it done. So hope you enjoyed it. And one more quick announcement, actually a really important announcement. I got to tell you this.